most admire you. Still on these streets, running and gunning. I'm just amazed it doesn't get to you. Watch your ass out there, okay?
I'm gonna be fine. They love me in Beverly Hills.
Detective Foley, you ever read your own file?
Welcome, movie buffs, to yet another review of a recent release. This episode is dedicated to the fourth entry in the Beverly Hills Cop series, Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. The latest entry in the franchise had a long gestating process, with the first ideas for the third sequel circulating in Hollywood since the mid-1990s, even after Beverly Hills Cop 3, released in 1994, bombed with both audiences and critics.
That's not fair.
When Netflix picked up the project, there was general skepticism, mainly because of Netflix's reputation for pushing out mediocre cash grabs that don't do the originals justice, and the overall disappointing wide array of Lego sequels we have gotten throughout the years. Few franchises managed to sustain the gravitas of the original or even yield fourth entries worth seeing. There are of course some exceptions, like the supposed last chapter in the Friday the 13th series titled Friday the 13th: The Final Chapter, the time Rocky Balboa faced Ivan Drago in the Soviet Union in Rocky IV, the return of Michael Myers in Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, and even Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol. Oh, and there's also this unexplainable outlier that's popular for some reason or other. Fun fact, Eddie Murphy, who is actually a Trekkie, wanted to star in the fourth chapter in the Star Trek saga. The truth is that most of the fourth entries simply aren't worth our time, failing to deliver on either character development, interesting narratives, or even continuing the spirit of the original. The track record is even worse when it comes to Lego sequels, or sequels that were released long after the popularity of the original had faded, with most of them coming across as nostalgia-driven attempts for the leads to cash in a great paycheck. To make matters worse, most of these entries exist despite the preceding chapter having delivered a stellar conclusion that wraps up the narrative in a very satisfying way. There are exceptions, of course, but these are few and far between. This satisfying conclusion nature of a series is particularly important when it comes to the Beverly Hills Cop franchise. The 1984 original, along with the TV series Miami Vice, revolutionized the cop genre and brought it into the 1980s. It was hip and fresh and catapulted Eddie Murphy into superstardom, becoming the highest grossing picture of 1984 and earning an Oscar nomination for Best Original Screenplay. The first sequel, released in 1987, was also a hit, even if critics found it too derivative. I personally find the movie to be very good, and it's a title that really amps up the thrills, courtesy of the great action maestro Tony Scott. Then there's Beverly Hills Cop 3, released in 1994. A movie nobody wanted to make, including its star, who only accepted the role because of the money. The movie found Eddie Murphy, who was no longer box office draw, sleepwalking through a mature performance lifted from an inspired script and with severe budget restraints. Safe to say that despite some minor hits throughout the 1990s and 2000s, Eddie Murphy was a supernova that turned into a black hole.
Look, children, it's a falling star. Make a wish.
After an extended absence, Murphy returned to our screens through 2019's hilarious Dolomite Is My Name, a title that earned the actor praise and generated some goodwill. Goodwill that the actor intended to keep and nurture by revisiting some of his most iconic roles. After a sequel to Coming to America, Axel Foley was next in line, and against all odds, Netflix did the unthinkable. It actually delivered a very good movie.
Get the f*** out of here! No, I cannot. It's serious.
Beverly Hills Cop Axel F finds Detective Axel Foley, played by Eddie Murphy, pulled back into Beverly Hills once again. I think at this stage he's like the California equivalent of John McClane, after receiving a distress call from his old friend Billy Rosewood, played by Judge Reinhold, who is now retired and working as a freelance. Rosewood informs him that Jane Saunders, played by Taylor Page, Axel Foley's strange daughter and highly successful criminal defense attorney, is in danger as she is in the middle of investigating a case involving corrupt cops. With his daughter's safety at stake, Axel gets involved in the investigation with some additional help from Billy, now Beverly Hills Police Department Chief John Taggart, played by John Ashton, and new joiner and all-around good guy Sam Abbott, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who is also Jane's ex-boyfriend. Together they uncover a conspiracy that involves the corrupt Beverly Hills Captain Cade Grant, played by Kevin Bacon. Facing plenty of impediments and overall challenges, it is up to Foley and company to uncover the truth and bring the perpetrators to justice, all whilst relying on the Detroit detectives' unconventional methods and streetwise tactics. When it comes to Legway sequels, there are not a whole lot of creative levers screenwriters can pull. Usually, the lead's offspring is involved, most of the cast is reunited, and there is a maximum effort to throw in as many callbacks to the originals as possible, whilst updating the story to reflect the aspects of a modern setting. Beverly Hills Cop Axel F is no different. What separates this fourth entry from all the other half-assed revivals is charm, and Axel F brings that in droves. Eddie Murphy is back, and with him is the smooth, fast-talking police officer who is a bit rough around the edges, in an interpretation that's reminiscent of the 1984 original, with the fantastic action pieces inspired by the 1987 sequel. The franchise's appeal also sits with the score, and this sequel does deliver on that front. Besides Harold Faltermeyer's iconic synth piece, there are nods to the first two entries with The Heat Is On by Glenn Frey and the Oscar-nominated Shakedown by Bob Seger playing in two pivotal scenes. There's also a nod to the Pointer Sisters' Neutron Dance. Like any worthy Lego sequel, the movie has plenty of Easter eggs. There are nods to past franchise stars who are no longer with us, and there's also the ubiquitous bridge between gritty Detroit and glamorous Beverly Hills, with the latter being reinforced by the presence of Bronson Pinchot's Serge. As a tongue-in-cheek comment to Netflix's politically correct programming, there are also plenty of jabs at the woke culture. There's also a semi-fourth wall, subtle breaking comment when it comes to acknowledging that the third part wasn't well received, to say the least.
Starting with the piece, various shootouts, evading the police. This is from 84. Then there's one from 87.
And then 94.
Not your finest hour.
This last point in particular is difficult to pull without unleashing a set of eye rolls in audiences. All in all, everything works well. Beverly Hills Cop F also incorporates a key component of any good Legway sequel, by introducing several new characters. And whereas Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character is a too-in-the-nose portrayal of a modern-day moderate take on police work, something that in my opinion weakens the movie, Kevin Bacon is superb as an over-the-top villain and the perfect partner for Murphy's favorite game of banner exchange. We are indeed living in the area of the Bacon essence, and nothing can stop me from believing in its success. With a perfect balance between the quips and practical goofs of the 1984 original and the action-driven principle of the 1987 sequel, along with some subtle nods like I mentioned to the third entry from 1994, Beverly Hills Cop Axel F is a success in the sense that it is a purely old-fashioned and easy-watch title, filled with comical violence, R-rated language, callbacks galore, and I believe that Taggart and Rosewood should have gotten their own spin-off, and Eddie Murphy's ad-libbing his way through his performance.
What's that word, kismet? This is kismet. This is a kismet. This is a
stars aligned, exactly.
Kismet shit for your ass. So
We are left with a solid comedy action entry that makes us feel that we are still back in the 1980s during Murphy's commercial and artistic heyday. A very good action movie, and along with this year's The Fall Guy, a sad reminder that they don't make it like they used to. A great summer blockbuster that unfortunately won't be enjoyed on the big screen. But safe to say, Murphy's back, and I for one can't wait to see what he does next. As for my final thoughts on the movie,
It's good. Try it.